Good morning, Madam President. We are recording.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. General Counsel.
Good morning. In addition to resuming public comment in person, having in-person board meetings, we still do offer the opportunity for the time being for the public to call in and offer public comment. Members of the public wishing to do so may call 213-306-3065. Again, that number is 213-306-3065. And when prompted, enter meeting code 2489-971-9594. Again, that prompt is 2489-971-9594. Members of the public wishing to offer public comment will have 2 minutes per item and a total of 5 minutes for all items. When calling in, please state whether you are speaking on a specific agenda item or general public comment. Madam Board Secretary, I turn it over back to you for a roll call.
Calling roll, President McCLAIN-HILL.
Present.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Present.
4 board members present and a quorum. I will now turn it over to President McCLAIN-HILL.
I'd just like to open the meeting today by noting that this is the first in-person board meeting that the Commission has held since March of 2020. And we are first completely in-person board meeting without a finding of, without a pandemic finding. Also, we are pleased to welcome back members of the public for public comment under our current vaccine requirements. The staff has also begun to return to work, and I'm happy to welcome them back as well. So, General Manager, I would like to compliment you and the entire team for navigating this incredibly difficult period over the last several years. And while we are certainly not clear of COVID-19, I think that we will all work together as it continues to evolve to try to resume our work at the department and in the rest of our lives as normally as possible. And I think the new normal continues to take on interesting attributes, including the wearing of masks, which we will continue to do until such time as we are cleared to remove them indoors. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to move for general public comment, after which time I will be moving after which time we will go to the general manager's report, and then we will move the LADWP Aspire presentation to follow the general manager's report. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that shift in the agenda. So with that, Board Secretary.
We do not have any in-person public comments, so I'll take public comment by phone. Good morning, callers. Please state your full name and the agenda item you wish to comment on. Please also be mindful that you will have 2 minutes for comment. First caller will be Allison Weber, followed by Mark Dyer. Allison Weber.
And I'm here. Hello, my name is Allison Weber, and I'm here representing the Keep Long Valley Green Coalition. I wanted to bring up some comments made from representatives of LADWP at the last Inyo County LADWP Standing Committee meeting, in which LADWP representatives mentioned that their obligations for mitigation projects and the water that's required for that are not a voluntary choice. And it was a kind of snarky comment made in reference to the groundwater pumping. And I wanted to note that that water is used because of damage that LADWP has done. And the Eastern Sierra community will not stand by and allow LADWP to say that that water is made by our own decision or that any increased groundwater pumping is as a result of that. LADWP needs to be a good neighbor and the member of the community that they claim to be. And they need to start by doing that by holding themselves accountable to the harm they've done to the environment and continue to do with each of these new ideas for how to extract more water from the Eastern Sierra. Removing water from Long Valley would account for only 4% of Los Angeles' water needs. And in the past, LADWP has said that they will not dewater the area. We ask for a binding agreement to not do so. We ask for LADWP to not keep the area at the mercy of the department and instead continue to provide this historical irrigation and not for its attempts to pit people in the Eastern Sierra against each other by saying that water to one mitigation project somewhere is why we can't have water in other areas. Together in the Eastern Sierra, we are all part of this community, and because Los Angeles is connected to us through the aqueduct, Los Angeles must also act as part of this community.
Caller, please wrap up your comments.
Please push for more responsible water use in the Eastern Sierra. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller will be Mark Dyer, followed by Chris Helser. Mark Dyer.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Mark Dyer. I am with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and Healthy Housing Foundation in Los Angeles. And I'm calling to bring to the attention to the board that we provide low-income affordable housing to residents and homeless individuals downtown. And the process for us to upgrade the power in these buildings and get approval and commence the work is taking on an average of 18 months, which is way too long. From the time we submit plans, they're reviewed, comments are received, we respond to the comments, and for the DWP's review section to review and approve of them, they are taking, like I said, 18 months, and then the work commences after that. We're trying to take individuals off the streets and put them in, heads on beds and make things happen. So I think we need to focus on getting this process expedited somehow to make things happen faster for these individuals as we are trying to get them off the streets. I think what the process is now is completely unacceptable. I think there's definitely room for improvement. And on another note, we as a landlord, I'll say, we provide we pay for the utilities within the building, and I have called DWP on numerous occasions, and there is no low-income program to extend to us as landlords by providing these tenants low-income units at $400, $500 a month, yet we pay the utility bills that are skyrocketing.
Caller, please wrap up your comments.
Okay. There should be a program available to us as a landlord, instead of individualizing the units to be metered, that we can you can pass the savings on to us as a landlord to keep our rents low for the tenants. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller is Chris Helser, followed by the caller with the beginning numbers 216, ending numbers 85. Caller Chris Helser.
Hi, this is Chris Helser. I'm here to represent AIDS Healthcare Foundation as well. I'm actually the one that deals with DWP a lot to try and get these projects up and going. And as Mark said, it takes way too long. We're trying to get these people off the streets and give them a healthy place to live. And the power is a continual issue, as we know the infrastructure is old and needs upgraded. But when it takes 18 months and we start to fill these buildings, we have power issues and we can't continually power these buildings the way that we need to. I don't know if it's something you guys need to get more staff, or if we need to find some sort of way to work with maybe outside engineers, but there's got to be a better way to make this work in a timely manner. 18 months, sometimes 2 years is unacceptable. This should be something we can work on much faster. This is a modern age to be able to digitize it, whatever we got to do. As we stated, we really just want to get them off the streets and provide a healthy place for them to live. So whatever we can do to work, not just as JVP, but as AHF, as a team with you guys to make this a faster process, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Next caller will be from the area code 216, ending numbers 86. The next caller after will be area code 213, ending numbers 03. Caller from the 216 area code. Caller from the 216 area code.
Yes, hello. My name is Ashok Salukar. I'm Deputy General Counsel for Corporate Affairs and Registered In-House Counsel in California for AIDS Healthcare Foundation. I am going to echo my colleagues' comments about the duration and complexity that is involved in getting permits and entitlements from LADWP to commence work. 18 months is absolutely unacceptable for the kinds of services that we are providing to the community in LA. We are getting people off the street so that they can have a roof over their heads and walls around them. We have buildings that we have rehabilitated that were essentially eyesores in the downtown LA area and on Skid Row, and we are doing all of this at our own expense and at our own cost, and with very little support from anyone else. And it's important for us to also ensure that the folks that are residents of this building are not getting stuck in the building in a way that makes life difficult for them. If you are living on the 8th floor of a building and you are 80-something years old and you have an elevator that cannot be used because replacing or upgrading the elevator requires a permit from LADWP, which will take 18 months. That is just not acceptable as a solution. It's unthinkable in this day and age with the staffing and the budget that LADWP has and the rates that you charge, that you are not able to provide these vital services to the residents of this county and of this city in a more timely manner. I will also echo my colleague Mark Dyer's comments from earlier that there is no program that allows us to get a preferential rate for the service we provide. And just so that I am clear, we are not providing some affordable housing at these buildings. These are 100% low-income, very low-income, and extremely low-income housing.
Caller, please wrap up your comments.
Sure. We ask that you focus your attention on this to provide us a solution that is workable both in terms of time and cost. Thank you very much.
The next caller will be from area code 213 with the last numbers 03, followed by the next caller from area code 818, last numbers 19. Caller from area code 213, please state your name. Caller from...
You keep muting me. I'm telling the FBI. Which items you want to speak on? Ow! All items and general comment. Ow, my nose. Ow. Told you to behave. Yes. How much time do I get?
Oh, gosh, they're here.
How much time do I get? All items and general comment.
You get 2 minutes per item. You get 2 minutes per item for a total of 5 minutes, as long as you stay on topics that are.
Thank you, FBI targets. Yes, I know. You're waiting for your paperwork. I know. I'm going to try to wrap this up quick. So let's talk about the general manager's report. Yes, you have a new general manager. And what is he going to do when everybody doesn't conserve water? What type of enforcement mechanisms are you going to use? Now, is it a coincidence that every week since I spoke last at your meeting, every other day, the power is going off on my house? What are you talking about? Yes, it went off again for the third time in 11 days. Are you trying to harass an individual for speaking and exercising their Bain Act rights at your commission meeting again? Mr. General Manager, I would curtail that activity.
Caller, please wrap up your remarks.
Well, excuse me, ma'am. I thought I was given 5 minutes to speak.
5 months.
I'm sure the FBI will get a lot more than that, right? Do I get a right to speak, or are there going to be more arrest warrants? What is it going to be? I thought this was a Brown Act meeting.
Are we at 2 minutes?
If I may continue, yes, thank you. Now, that sounds like a sensible voice. Nice lady, I believe. Now, of course, we have also another problem. But I didn't finish my time. I told you they're not going to.
Caller? Okay. Next caller from 818, last digits 19. Please state your name. Caller from area code 818, last digits 19. Please state your name.
Hello, can you hear me? It's Eric Previn.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Unmute me. Okay, please, am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my name is Eric Previn. I'm from Studio City. I'd like to talk about a couple of different items. You know, I'm scanning down on the closed sessions right away, and I see that Antoine Jones and the Price Waterhouse activities are in there. And I'll cast a little bit of public shame on all that. We're very worried that that is an ongoing consideration. And, the other thing I'd like to look at, jumping up to the items that are on the docket for approval today, item 5, is it looks like it's an office of the general manager and chief engineer want a little advisory, but it's with an independent counsel service, and they want advice, investigation, which always catches my attention, litigation, and they're bringing in the delightful Ropers Majeski and Paul Hastings, red flag, for a term of 2 years with a 1-year optional renewal period, and this is all for the low as you can go price of $1.5 million. I guess this has something to do with CEQA, but I feel we need more information on that one, to be honest. It just seems like, and also given that, and we'd like any advice from the group about how Dan Shalman and Carolyn Kubota, Kubota, are doing over there at DWP. I know he's been working with one of the indictees or something, but he's also working at the county Board of Supervisors, the 5 Little Queens. That means Sheila Kuehl, who's about to take a cruise because she's retiring without finishing her term, and then Hilda Solis, Janice Hahn, Catherine Barger, and the brand new Holly Mitchell are running things. And what they did when Mark Ridley Thomas ran into some headwinds, they brought in this great firm from Covington and Burling, excuse me. And it just seemed very close, given that Carolyn Kubota was also chasing down Villanueva as part of the together by the Board of Supervisors attorneys.
Caller, please wrap up your remarks.
Well, I'm just getting warmed up. How much time is left? I'll try to wrap it up in that limited time frame.
2 minutes are up, sir.
Okay, so I have a remaining 13 minutes. Is that right?
No, sir.
How much?
A remaining
No, how much
3
is
for a
left?
total of 5.
3 total of 5. How about I raise you to? All right, fine. Let me try for 3. I'll try to make it quick, and I try to be brief. First of all, I want to applaud this group. I know BARAD from the Neighborhood Council. I know the leader from her work at HHH Briefer at all the commissions. Just want to say this. You're doing a great service to the public by allowing telephonic testimony during this period. And I know you were going to struggle and fight to make it a hybrid normality so that it happens all the time. The problem that has arisen, the County Board of Supervisors get it, and they have been taking, unfortunately, half the appropriate dosage of testimony, but they've been taking it virtually. So that's good. And the reason why is because it's a great benefit to the public and the bodies and agencies that benefit from public scrutiny. I know you all, twitch when I say that, but it really does make your jobs easier when it's clear what the people want. And, though there's a lot of voices, the more we hear, the better. The good ones rise to the surface. I'm obviously nominated for the Journalist of the Year, which caught me off guard by the LA Press Club yesterday. So I'm a speaker who likes to talk about the legal fighting, and I'm happy to drag Skip Miller of Miller Barundes right out into the town square and go, what are you talking about? Why would we agree to you billing the county and everybody else all this money, and then it's privilege from the public's point of view? Nonsense, as you all agree. So that's why I went to the California Supreme Court and got that clarified. So eventually the county will comply. They're having it's a bumpy road over at County Hall, even though they're loaded over there. And the city council, obviously, this is the punchline, needs to admit public testimony through virtual means stat. Okay, I'd like all of you at the end of the call, McCLAIN-HILL on down, to pick up the phone and call Nuri Martinez and say, why are you guys not taking virtual? It makes no sense. Today they had a big meeting with 36 items, including $250,000 to a amorphous trip and fall out the door, Krikorian, from the blue line, out the door. And then they have one speaker. One speaker. This is 4 million people in the city of Los Angeles. I believe there's 11 million in the county. What kind of nonsense is this? They need to...
Thank you, caller. We're moving to the next caller at this time.
Let's move on. Yeah, let's move on.
The next caller will be area code 323, last digit 00. After that, we will take caller 213, last numbers 34. At this time, we're taking caller 323, last digits 00. Caller, please state your name.
Hello?
Yes, caller, go ahead.
Hello?
Please state your name. We are moving to the next caller. Caller from area code 213, last digits 34. Please state your name.
Hello,
Ashante, you can move on. If he can't state his name, we can keep moving.
Next caller, area code 323, last digits 24. Caller, please state your name.
Hello, my name is Harmon. Letty? Harmon.
You can proceed.
Letty, you hear me?
I can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. This is the DWP meeting, correct? Water? You deal with water, lady and gentlemen? Oh, the history behind water and power is I nigger have to pay more for rationing water regulations. Why don't you talk to Governor Newsom for water discount? What's that? What you say, nigga? Are you fucking crazy? What you say, nigga? Don't.
He gets to say it.
Sir, you have 2 minutes to speak on general public comment. You can also speak on individual items, which will expand your time, but your time is running. So 2 minutes on general public comment, which is what you seem to be speaking to now.
Okay, we're moving on. The caller has dropped the line.
Okay,
We're moving on to caller area code 562, last digits 16. Caller, please state your name.
Hello?
Caller from 562, last digits 16.
Move to the next call.
Public comment is now closed.
Perfect. Thank you so very much.
Hello?
The system closed, Shante?
It is now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Mr. Adams.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to see everybody here in person again. So this is a nice change. We have just a few updates I'd like to give the board. And first, I'd like to ask Dave Pettyjohn to give an update on the drought ordinance. That'll be going to City Council, and also a meeting that he participated in yesterday with Governor Newsom on drought outlook for the coming months. So Dave?
Yeah, thank you, Marty. So you may recall that back on May 10th, the mayor, our commission board president, McCLAIN-HILL, and our general manager, Marty Adams, held a press event. And at that press event, they announced that the city would be going to a higher phase of our water conservation ordinance, limiting outdoor watering to 2 days a week. And this was in response to record drought conditions and critically dry conditions on the State Water Project in particular. So tomorrow, the City Council is scheduled to take up this change to Phase 3 of the city's water conservation ordinance. And in response, we are currently working hard with coordinating among a number of divisions to be ready for the June 1st change when it will take effect. And that will be, of course, 3 days down to 2 days a week watering for the public. We've lined up a major media campaign that'll hit the streets as soon as the council gives its concurrence on this with an affirmative vote, and we're expanding our enforcement mechanism so that we have more people out on the street, essentially patrolling and educating our customers on how they can respond to the ordinance. So as of today, we're still at 3 days a week. We expect to be at 2 days a week watering by tomorrow. And with that 2 day a week watering, all existing prohibited uses of wasteful uses of water will continue to be in effect. And that concludes my report on the water conservation issues in the city. Marty did mention that there was a meeting yesterday with the governor. The real issue that was discussed there is the governor has seen the latest numbers and he's not pleased with how the state is responding, not the city. And he called together all the large water agencies throughout California to meet with him personally so he could put them on notice that he's going to be monitoring the situation over the next 60 days, and then he'll be making a decision on whether to do something more on a mandate statewide than what is currently occurring. So each of us got a chance to talk to the governor about what each city was doing. I spoke to the governor about what we are doing. And he asked me at the end if we thought that we could increase our water conservation effort. I told him that I thought we could, but I couldn't predict exactly how much people would respond. But I did mention to him that during the last drought, the residents of the city of LA did respond with a 25% reduction in water use, and we expect that they'll respond to this crisis as well. There is one other issue I'd like to report out on, and that is something that saved some people's lives among our team. So this occurred at Klondike Lake. So very quick thinking on two of our employees' parts in the Northern District, and these are both volunteer fire department employees of the Big Pine Fire Department, helped rescue some people at Klondike Lake who got into a situation. So about 1:48 p.m. on Sunday, May 15th, the Big Pine Volunteer Fire Department was dispatched to a report of 6 people and a dog who were possibly drowning at Klondike Lake. One person suffered a medical emergency while they were kayaking on the lake, and she fell out of her boat. Her 2 companions also tried to rescue her, and they ended up overturning their kayaks as well in an attempt to save her. And then additionally, 2 people on paddleboards nearby came to assist, and they also got into trouble. And another bystander on shore swam out to the overturned kayaks and tried to help. So you had a total of 6 people there who were struggling in the water, and no one was wearing any flotation devices. So a call went to the Big Pine Fire Department Chief Damian Carrington, also a DWP employee, and he began seeking help and additional resources, including a boat, to help these people. So our water operations people heard his request and dispatched a boat from our Bishop construction yard. Unfortunately, that was about 15 minutes away. However, a Big Pine Fire Captain Jason Morgan, who's also a 14-year veteran of the DWP, and he's a current employee, and he's a 7-year member of the fire department there. He heard the call for a boat, and he quickly brought his own boat out to the lake, and that saved about 10 minutes. And due to his quick thinking, we were told that his response saved the lives of everyone involved, especially the first person who had a medical emergency and one other who also suffered a medical emergency during the incident. And both those individuals likely would have died if they had to wait the additional 10 minutes for the boat to come from the Bishop area. So we just want to congratulate especially Jason Morgan, a DWP employee of our Water System Aqueduct Group, for his quick life-saving action, and we are preparing a letter of commendation for him as well. So that concludes my report, Marty.
Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate that. And again, I want to thank our employees who, as Dave mentioned, not only those folks, but a lot of the folks up in the Owens Valley that help on the fire departments and ambulance units, as well as sometimes deputy sheriffs, are actually water and power employees who do that as a volunteer service to the community. Next, I'd like to turn over to Brian Wilbur, who's going to give us a update, a review on the Lyman's Rodeo that occurred a week ago Saturday.
Thank you, Marty.
A week ago. It's a long week.
So on the 14th, we did have our regional Lyman's Rodeo sponsored by LADWP and IBW Local 18. And this is the first time we've had it since 2019. It was a very successful event. We had a lot of people, a lot of kids that showed up. It was a tremendous event that we had. Marty Adams kicked it off our opening ceremonies, followed by our fleet aviation unit that brought in their helicopters, and our human external cargo group to do a little show for the national anthem when it came in. We have a small video here I'd like to show. Reggie, if you could put that on. Reggie. You know, the event was a huge success, and the department teams did very, very well. We finished within the top 3 of 8 of the 10 events, including the overall best for our journey level and apprentice teams. We took first place in both. So this sets up the stage for the International Rodeo, which is in Kansas City, which brings teams from all over the nation, and Canada, and even as far as Guam, that come and compete there. So we're looking forward to that moving forward. Like I said, this was a great success. You can see in the video there was a lot of children that showed up. We had a great participation from our new engineering associate group. They came out and put together a science center that was great for all of the kids, with lots of competitions that were there also. So thank you for everyone that showed up and came. I know the commissioners were there and saw part of it, so thank you for that. It was a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. And President McCLAIN-HILL was there. I don't know if any of the commissioners had a chance to show up later in the day, but it was a great event, really well attended.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to being just a really tremendous event, it was also a good recruiting platform, and met a bunch of young men who were in lineman school, so that was a lot of fun. Also, we had our mobile command center on site, which I had not had the opportunity to visit, and that was actually quite impressive, so I was happy to be able to see that. Best T-shirts and great food. One thing, though, that was a little difficult, I couldn't determine who our folks were. Everybody was dressed the same, so we didn't have like DWP uniforms. I was looking for how to figure out who was DWP, but since everybody was in the same shirts, I was confused.
You know, the ARC rated clothing that all the linemen wear, they all look the same essentially, but everyone has their own logo, so you got to look a little closer for the DWP logo on there.
We're hoping to encourage them to all work for us, actually. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah, brand everybody us. But no, it was really great. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I want to thank Brian and his team. They put a lot of work into that. So thank you for getting that going. Next Thursday, on June 2nd, I guess next Thursday, we are going to have a fallen worker memorial event in front of the building, and I hope that all the commissioners are able to join us in attending that. We'll have some more information. It'll be, I think it's at 10 in the morning. I'll double check on the time. We're going to honor all of our fallen employees, about 220 employees in the course of history who have died in the line of duty at Department of Water and Power. It's a astounding number, and we have unfortunately several names that need to be added to the memorial since we last updated it. So we have new unveiling of the glass with the names updated in front, and we know we have family members of some of the fallen team members here that'll be joining us, as well as officials from the city of Los Angeles, from the city family. So we'll hope that you'll be able to join that event. We'll put out more information about that, but it will be on Thursday, June 2nd. I want to let the board know that in our partnership with the HBCUs, the historically black colleges and universities, we are joining with other city departments to do a virtual internship starting in June. Coming up, we're going to be the first department to host 10 engineering students. There's a plan. They'll be actually mentored through all both joint power and water here, and have projects that they will work on, both to learn about the system and also to do group projects coming back. So a lot of these folks do not live here in LA, so they're doing a virtual internship, and then they'll also work with the Bureau of Engineering and other city departments. It's a 6-week program, and it'll allow us to have folks become familiar with us and us familiar with them, and hopefully help in our continued efforts for engineering recruiting. Later in the summer, there'll be an actual field trip for engineers coming out. The Innovation and Performance Commission has a $150,000 grant. They'll be flying 12 HBCU students to Los Angeles to actually come see projects and look at engineering opportunities. So this is a good step in the right direction, and it's an opportunity to leverage technology and to have people engage with us even if they don't live in Los Angeles. And so we are working on that currently. Next, I'd like to bring up, pardon me, this is almost out of order, I apologize. Estella Tienan, Estella, are you here? We have a PIN presentation that we'd like to do, and Commissioner McCLAIN-HILL, President McCLAIN-HILL, I understand that you've been asked to play a role in reading of this PIN, and it's for Joan Chastain Outlaw. So, Estelle, would you like to provide the introduction?
I'm 6 feet away. Oh, yeah. Good morning, Commissioners.
Pull the mic a little bit.
My name is Estella Tiemann. I'm the Director of Customer Operations for Customer Service Division. And it's my honor to present this 40-year pin to Joan Chastain. So Joan began her career with the City of Los Angeles on November 17, 1980, as a clerk typist at the Jefferson Branch Library, where she worked for 3 years. After urging from her father, who was a supervisor for the DWP Field Group, she took the customer service rep, the CSR test. And in April 1983, she began her DWP career. She worked in the Valley Special Desk Unit for 3 years, then promoted to Commercial Field Rep, CFR, in 1986, and remained in the field groups. She worked as a CFR for 15 years, a dispatcher for 7 years, a senior CFR for 6.5 years, and finally as a commercial field supervisor in the West LA field groups, where she has been since September 2014. Joan's father worked for the department for 32 years, and she continued his legacy and has now been with the department for 39 years. 39? Yes. During those 39 years, Joan has been an asset to the department. She has excelled in every position she's been in, holding herself accountable and striving for excellence in every aspect. Her dedication, knowledge, work ethic, and caring attitude will surely be missed. She has assisted countless employees advance their careers while being a supervisor in the field groups, and has been an integral part of making sure that her groups provided the best possible service for all LADWP customers. As Joan prepares to start the next chapter of her life, she looks forward to spending time with her family, especially her grandchildren, traveling, exploring new restaurants, and attending concerts and other events. Congratulations, Joan, on 41 years of dedicated service, and we wish you the best in your upcoming retirement. There, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Madam, yes. Do you have your pen?
Yes, I do.
I've got a request, and it would be my honor, although attaching this pin to this beautiful outfit seems absolutely insane to me, but you know what? You earned it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
You know, they've done a very good job making sure that nothing bad happens to them. So, a family history at the Department of Water and Power for over 60 years.
Yes, that's good. And my daughter is here as a supervisor. So, yes, the legacy continues for the Chastain family, and I'm proud of that.
I can certainly understand that. I'm very, very, very much feeling the pride that's associated with the legacy that your family has at the department. And I know very much how much that means, especially in our families. The ability to not only pass it down, but to support the next generation in their effort to move forward in life is just so incredibly important. The department is proud to have been part of your family's journey. And I'm grateful to share in this moment with you. Thank you very much, and I wish you the very best in retirement.
Thank you.
It's so funny. All I can think about is like, I'll never be able to retire.
It's the very first time
Lucky
that
her.
I've ever accepted. So, you and I now have history.
Thank you. And I would just like to add that I appreciate being able to be here with you, and that you are presenting. And I'd also like to acknowledge my supervisor who is here, Theron Rucker, who made all of this possible. He's a good friend, and he has been an excellent boss. And I just want to acknowledge him for the effort that he put in making this happen today. So thank you, thank the board, and thank my so much. Over here? Yeah.
Ready for board, Art?
Lots of them.
All right, here's the first one. Let's see. Here we go again. That's good. A little bit. Go. And one more time. That's correct there. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Joan is a testimony to how much this, we talk ourselves about it as a family, and in some ways, we are family. We've passed this organization down through many generations of many families who really become caretakers of the people of LA, and they make that their life's mission for generations and are committed to this organization. So Joan, thank you. Congratulations, and you're a fantastic example to so many other employees here. Appreciate all your years of service.
Thank you.
And unless there's any questions, that's the conclusion of my remarks.
All right. So thank you for that. We will now move to the presentation and report by Aspire in recognition of AAPI History Month.
We have Mandy on, who's going to give our presentation today. So, Mandy, go ahead. Get the mic.
It's on now.
Okay. So first, I just wanted to thank the board and President McCLAIN-HILL for letting me come and speak today. As Marty mentioned, my name is Mandy, or Amanda On, and I'm here to speak on behalf of an exciting new employee resource group called Aspire, which stands for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Supporting Progress, Inclusion, Respect, and Empowerment. So Aspire is a brand new employee resource group, and we're building it from the ground up. It's open to all employees, and it's for all job classifications. So instead of starting a chapter of an existing national organization, what we really wanted to do was create something brand new that was designed to meet the specific needs of department employees and also fulfill this mission statement. Aspire is an independent organization of, by, and for LADWP employees. Aspire strives to advance, foster, and uphold a workplace culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because when employees feel valued, safe, and belong, they are better able to meet the needs of customers, fellow employees, suppliers, and communities. Aspire seeks to raise awareness of the diversity of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander communities, ranging from needs, disparities, to challenges, which is crucial in dismantling the model minority myth. We are deeply committed to working together as an equal partner with underrepresented communities, collectively to build an equitable, inclusive, and diverse workplace by influencing LADWP policy and practices. So when we were forming this group, we wanted to look at the entire organization as a whole. Any organization, like the department, is a collection of connected parts. And in order to make a sustainable change at the department, we need a strategy that looks at the entire system and also addresses these individual parts. So our strategy is to activate these complementary parts simultaneously, following a holistic approach. So this approach can be broken down into 3 main programs, which are education, policy, and services. And within these programs, we have projects with measurable results that we can use to see our impact and progress. We also plan to reprioritize our efforts on a regular basis, just in response to needs and changing circumstances. So with this framework in mind, these are our goals, and we understand that these are big, ambitious, worldly goals. But, you know, the way that we like to look at this is we like to look at this journey as a marathon and not a sprint. So these goals are achievable if we take one step at a time using objectives that are achievable and obtainable. Because at the end of the day, what we really want is we just want to help the department become the best that it can be. So
your 2 minutes are up.
but I get 3 extra, right? So these are some of the small steps that we've taken.
Yes. Good.
I think we'll wait a week.
Okay, so these are just some of the small steps we've taken to achieve our goals. Some of the events, like the Lunar New Year panel, are designed to help build upon our goal of creating awareness. Other events, like the self-defense class that we had this past weekend, build upon our goal of creating a sense of safety and working with local partners. And I just wanted to thank President McCLAIN-HILL for coming out and supporting us at that event, and also Marty Adams, the department, and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for supporting and hosting that event as well. And other events like the one we have this week, which is an ice cream lunchtime social, are designed to help build community. So that event is this week during lunch on the atrium level on Wednesday and Thursday. So I hope everyone can join us for that.
Who funds that, for instance?
It's the DEI office does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, we've been organizing for a little over a year, and we've just started our journey. So a few of our next steps include formally adopting a charter, continuing to grow our community, and continuing to provide resources and events. So that wraps up my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I also wanted to note that if you wanted to find more information, you can find Aspire on the DWP intranet, on Waterpedia, and you can also email aspire@ladwp.com.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Just one, when you finalize the charter, will you circulate it, or is it finalized already?
We have a draft right now, and when it's finalized, we are working with the DEI office to finalize and get that approved.
Okay, and so we appreciate you sending it when it's final.
Okay.
Well, I just have to say, well, first, thank you for your presentation, and I'm really excited to join and observe the journey of chartering an entirely new organization. I think that's an exciting prospect. Had a really great time at the senior defense class. That was a lot of fun and helpful. And also appreciated participating in the courageous conversations and look forward to more of those. So thank you very much.
And I have shirts for the commissioners as well.
Perfect. I have mine. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move to item E, introduction of motions for future consideration. I have none that have come across the desk. So we'll go to item F, comments from ratepayer advocate on agendized items. Dr. Pickle, do you have anything for us at this time?
We will comment on items as needed, but in particular, we'd like to note our support for passage of item L10.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any neighborhood council impact statements?
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on any of the items on today's agenda.
Terrific, thank you. With respect to items that have been recommended for approval, I would like to call item number 6 as special. We have a comment, 2 speaker requests, one for L14 and one for L15. Are there any other items that commission, and I'm interested in a presentation on item 10 as well. Are there any other items that anyone would like to hear?
Is that 14 or 15?
We have a speaker for 14, a speaker for 15. I've asked for 6 and 10.
And I would appreciate a presentation on let me just, I think it's 12.
12? Okay, perfect. All right, so the remaining items are open for consideration on our consent calendar. That would be items L1 through L5, items L7 through L9, items L11, L13. Is there a motion to pass those items?
So moved.
Second, would you please call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
4 ayes. Motion passes.
Thank you. We will then move to management reports. We have the remainder of the item that was deferred from the last board meeting, the presentation on electric vehicle and fleet electrification.
We have the now fleet department here to report.
Gentlemen, good to see you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I do want to apologize for having to defer this item. I was actually at a General Motors fleet conference in Arizona talking about some of the very things that we're going to talk about today, and my backups had some unfortunate circumstances, I believe you term you used, so, but we're here today. And what's interesting about this, let's see if we can get to the presentation. If you'll note, let me scroll down here to where the fleet starts. Since this was designed to be given about a month ago, we've actually had updates since then that we wouldn't have been able to share at that time. So today, my name is Tom Patzloff. I'm the Director of Fleet and Aviation Services, and behind me, he is there. He hasn't run out the back door, is Keith Hall. He's the Senior Fleet Manager over our Fleet Engineering section. So I'm going to take you through kind of an introduction to fleet, a little bit about us, and then Keith is in particular going to talk about some procurement strategies and what we're going to be doing now and in the future to move towards electrification and zero emission vehicles. So before we get into fleet electrification update, I'd like to actually call it our zero emission transformation. Electric is one of the technologies that's zero emission. The other is fuel cell technology. And these are the two things that we're going to be looking at. Primarily electric will be number one. We are a power company. This benefits us. But as we start facing some of the mandates, we're going to have to look at other possible solutions, and fuel cell is one of the ones that's out there. So just a couple things about fleet services before we get into this. Fleet Services Division was actually established in the power system in July of 2020. For many years, Fleet Services was part of other divisions. We were in the joint system at one point. We were in the water system at one point. And we finally grown to the point where we're in excess of over 400 employees. And we have an annual operating budget in excess of $200 million. So we finally convinced Marty that it was time to make us a division, and it helped us be more self-sufficient and do a better job of supporting the organizations, both the water and power system. We are a support organization. We provide equipment and personnel to the different systems, primarily supporting their construction and maintenance activities. A couple of the areas of fleet services. Number one is fleet maintenance. It's our largest group. We maintain just over about 8,000 vehicles located in 3 different states, and we have 27 facilities where we maintain these vehicles. Our next section is fleet engineering, which Keith is going to be speaking a little bit more on. That group is responsible for procurement of all this equipment, the new stuff. They're the group that probably has the biggest challenge that I've ever seen in my career coming up. We also have a fleet operations section, and our operations group provides equipment and personnel to the various sections that need, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's somebody to run that piece of equipment. Well, they also maintain the JFB pool. A number of you have met the people that work down, and we call it the fishbowl on the B level. Those are fleet operations employees. And also, whenever there's a citywide event, such as coming up, we've got the Summit of the Americas, Gay Pride Parade, and the Martin Luther King Parade, we have been historically providing equipment and personnel to assist the city and putting on these events, and as well as any mutual aid scenarios. So this group happened to support the Navajo project when the power system went out. We provided fuel, logistics, equipment, stuff like that. So, and they also happened to manage and run all of our rental contracts. The next section of fleet is Aviation Services, and I think most of you have probably been on a helicopter ride. One of our new things that we now do is we do flag setting at the rodeo. So I must admit I was there. I must admit I was a little stressed. That was definitely something that we had talked about doing a few years ago, but it was an opportunity to showcase our human external cargo work that we've been doing with the power system for the last couple of years. Since this program started, I got notes to say we've done 64 human external cargo missions, which means going out with line crews doing actual work. And one of the other features that we added was we started doing night patrols. Historically, we've done day patrols. We patrolled the aqueduct. We patrolled our facilities. We're now doing patrols at night. So something else that we're looking to do more of. I've talked in the past about 2 new helicopters for this group. They are in process as we speak. That specification is having a little bit of trouble with some responsive bidding, but I was hoping to have that spec to you guys, you commissioners, for approval in June, probably more so late summer into early fall. So, but they're coming. Just a few hurdles seems to happen.
What's the turnaround after the requisition is approved?
It really depends on, we're shooting for a specific manufacturer. It's really where they put us in line. Once we have an approved package and we can issue a purchase order, we're expecting about a year.
Just a little bit over a year.
Yeah, they do government work too, and guess what? We're secondary to them, but I was hoping to see it before I retire. I don't know. I may have to come back, so. Some of the other things.
The way those go, they're ordered as an airframe and then they go to an outfit and specialized, or is this different now?
No, that's the way we ordered the Airbuses. We're going to order these complete. This is a little bit different setup because of the twin engine. The city doesn't use them, which is, we were able to piggyback on the contract last time. So this is a complete spec package. That's why it's taken so long, and it's a challenge. So supply and logistics issues we're having everywhere, certainly with aircraft. A lot of electronics. A couple of other things I want to talk about. We maintain all the fuel systems for the Department of Water and Power, both gasoline, diesel, and Jet A. We have 44 fuel sites. We also do mobile fueling. I've got in here field-based maintenance. We are mobile. We go to where the work is. We've got, not only do we have rolling stock that we take care of, we've got microwave sites, we've got backup generators. We kind of do it all. If it's got an engine in it, we maintain it. A couple other smaller groups I want to highlight are our fleet IT team. So like every other division in water and power, we decided to upgrade one of our work management systems while everyone else is doing it. We are in the process of upgrading our, you can see a picture of it down here. This is our M4. It's our vehicle maintenance system to M5, which you would think it's just one number. It should be easy. Well, it's not. But it's a work management system that's going to do, it's a proven system that we're looking forward to being up online. It's going to give us a lot more detail and information than we're getting from our current system. That's almost like a DOS 3.1 system. And then lastly, well, not lastly, I guess it is lastly for our admin team. Our admin team is the heart and soul of our group. There's a lot of things that we have to take care of within our group. We have invoicing, we have timekeeping, we have record management. We deal with tons and tons of regulatory agencies that require hard paperwork. And without the admin group, none of this happens. All right, one of the other areas that I wanted to get into is our fleet training group. It's important enough to where we actually dedicated 2 slides to it. And the first portion I want to talk about is our student worker program. This is something we started a few years ago prior to the pandemic. Partnering with LAUSD, we started bringing students in from the local high school, it was Van Nuys High School, and had them start working in our shop with our technicians in the evening. It was a fantastic program. We did it in the summer, we did it in the fall, and unfortunately it was suspended due to the COVID outbreak. But it was a great thing to see. We got the students' uniforms. We had them work in our shops. And we also, of the 6 students, we had 3 females that were interested in the field. And it was a nice program. So I know that our HR group is working with LAUSD right now on an MOU. And once that's up and running, not only are we looking at returning that program, we're looking at expanding it as much as tripling it. So definitely something that was unique. I had every intention of bringing the students here and introduce them to commissioners, and unfortunately it got shut down right at the time we were about ready to come in. So if we do get it back up and running, definitely we'll bring them in and maybe a little bit more expansion in what we're doing. A couple other things we do. We have a DMV approved commercial driver program. We are the DMV. We have the ability to train commercial drivers and also test them. So when they're done with our program, they are commercial drivers, whatever class that is. Something, when I talk about paperwork, ridiculous amount of paperwork, but it's really beneficial to us to be able to do that in-house. A couple other quick things that we do training-wise. We have a defensive driving program. Right now, this is something for non-commercial drivers that different divisions. And we don't do this just for fleet. These are division-wide training opportunities. So we've had customer service in the past, has enrolled all their employees in this program. It's a one-day class where you have classroom work, and then you go out and you apply the practical applications of this defensive driving. And something new for us is we are in the process of getting accredited and certified by the National Center for Construction Education Research, NCCR. This program is a certificated program, and it will allow us to train and teach not only new employees, but current employees to a national standard. Some of this is a response to the fatality we had at Somar East. One of the things that we're finding is we're getting people in so quickly, we're elevating them so quickly, they are learning from the last person they work with. We've got to implement some standards, we've got to implement some education. Sometimes this work can be dangerous and hazardous, and this is a program that we think is really going to help our underground for both the water side and the power side. Something we're pretty excited about. We do have some challenges, and I'll get into those later. And the last thing on the training, we do forklift training, Cal OSHA certified, fall protection, aerial. We offer these to the department. This is something that we've been doing for years, and you know, where else can you just pick up the phone and enroll your employees in the training program? All right, enough of that. Let's get back into the vehicles. This is a quick snapshot of our fleet as it stands today. Just highlighting some of the bigger squares here. Service trucks, pickup trucks, sedans, and heavy-duty vocational trucks make up the bulk of our fleet. These are the vehicles that we maintain. These are the vehicles we need to replace. This snapshot is where we want to be in the next couple of years. We realize the department is going to be growing. We're adding personnel. We've got LA100, the power system reliability. Water's got several initiatives that they need to meet. This is where it's going to go. And this very commission approved a budget with an increase in capital dollars for fleet, not only this year, but projecting for the next 5 years. So we want to be ready. We want to have the vehicles and equipment ready, so when the people roll in and the work starts, the fleet will be ready. Because it takes time. It takes time to get this stuff in, and it's going to take us time to get ready. Some of the initiatives we're dealing with. The mayor in 2021, Mayor Garcetti issued Executive Directive 25, basically mandating that we will purchase zero-emission vehicles first, where feasible. And then Governor Newsom followed that up with a similar executive order about 6 months later that also specifies the same thing, that zero-emission or vehicles are the choice for public utilities as well as the general public. So this is still in formation, but these are two huge initiatives that we're dealing with. The first one, the zero emission policy. This is our actual policy, a copy of it on the left. This has been drafted, approved, and submitted to the city council. And this is something where feasible, we're buying electric or zero emission vehicles. The Advanced Clean Fleet Rule, which is being proposed by the California Air Resource Board, is still in draft mode. It's they're still working out the details of how it's going to go. There's a lot of information. This is a big one for us as a fleet. This is a big one for us as a utility, because as a public utility, we're one of the first groups that must comply. Starting in January of 2024, 50% of all new vehicles we buy, this is not just sedans, it's not pickups, it's everything needs to be zero emission. By 2027, 100%. And this mandate is...
How are you defining vehicle? How is a vehicle being defined?
I'm sorry?
How is a vehicle being defined?
How is it being defined? By classes.
Okay.
There's 1 through 8.
And so everything that is over that weight? 8,500
pounds. And we already have our own policies. Anything up to 8,500, we will buy zero emission. So this is going to mean your big trucks, your 3-axle trucks, your over the road, anything that rolls down the road. This is going to affect 4,500 of the vehicles in our fleet that we have to convert to a zero emission. And the goal is by 2045, all of our vehicles will be some type of zero emission. This is a very ambitious challenge for public fleets, for private fleets. There's hurdles that need to be gotten through. So part of the presentation last week from the electric vehicle group, we have been working with them, giving them information on our own fleet. And we're going to get to experience this before the public starts converting their fleets to electric. We're going to be able to do it with our own vehicles. We have 100 locations where vehicles are parked that they're going to have to look at every single one of those, evaluate them for power, and set it up accordingly so that they can start charging vehicles. So just some of the stuff that we're doing is we're transforming it. 75% of our automotive fleet is either electric or hybrid. That will be 100% relatively soon. We've got a few gas burners, a few CNG vehicles, and we're planning on replacing those. We will no longer buy any internal combustion engine sedans. There's no reason to. There's viable solutions. This is something I wanted to, I'm going to let this just play. This is a short video.
Terex continue to lead the way. Innovation through our consistent history of first for the electric utility industry. We understand your achieving your sustainability and fleet electrification. Terex is excited to bring new green solutions for your distribution fleet.
Yeah. Sorry.
Terex continue to lead the way. Innovation through our consistent history of first.
Sorry. Somebody, I'm trying to get rid of that echo. Echo.
Way. Innovation through our consistent history of first of the electric utility industry. We understand your biggest challenges, like achieving your sustainability and fleet electrification. Terex is excited to bring new green solutions for your distribution fleet. Now, with the first all-electric bucket truck for a Class 6 and 7 medium-duty chassis. Our Optima 55-foot aerial lawn with simple and reliable high-power smart PTO system by Viatec was teamed up with an international EM V607, an all-electric chassis, making zero emissions at a job site a reality. Helping our customers reach their goals is a priority. We listen to our customers' needs and respond with solutions. Ready to go electric? Join other leading electric utilities.
Same thing as when I
Trucks rolling off the line now.
All right, this is one of the areas that I wouldn't have been able to present at the last board meeting. Terex Utilities approached us and said, DWP, are you interested in buying a couple of these vehicles? They claim that they're going to have them as early as this fall. This is what's out there. So we committed to buying 2 of them. You're welcome, Brian. And we're going to give them a shot. They have 135-mile service territory, and they have 3,000 pounds of cargo capacity. So there's definitely going to be some challenges in buying this stuff, but we're kind of on the leading edge of this. They're price-wise, they're about $550,000 a piece. The comparable internal combustion engine is about $175,000. So right now they're very expensive, but I expect those costs to come down. But this is definitely technology that we're interested in, we're investing in, and we're working with the original equipment manufacturers.
And Terex is a standard manufacturer that is moving into the electric space. It's not a dedicated electric-focused manufacturer.
Right. They are a manufacturer of utility-type equipment. Right. And so they've partnered up with International. That's an International chassis, and then the boom on it is Terex. And so this unit will require 2 battery chargers when it comes in at night. It's going to need a DC fast charger for the chassis, and it's going to need a class or level 2 for the boom.
And who did you say manufactures the chassis?
International truck. So there's somebody that we've done business with. They've actually been running this chassis in school buses pretty successfully. And they claim 135-mile range, and for some of our work here, where we're close proximity, that will work. We're going to put one at our Van Nuys facility and one at Wall Street. So they're already working on the infrastructure and hoping to have them by the end of the year. Now, the crown jewel, the 100 Ford F-150 Lightnings. You are seeing the certificate of origin for one, because that's all we've got so far. So, Madam President, I know you want to drive that thing as soon as it's here.
Before Andy does.
Before Andy, before Brian. This is the guy here.
My new best friend.
Yeah, if it doesn't happen that way, it's his fault. So, but we're still waiting on them for release dates. This thing is built. It's sitting. Ford has not released it. End of June, July? Do we know?
That's end of June, July, but as Tom said, it's built. They just need to approve it for release and ship it.
So, and then there's going to be about 9 more of those pretty quickly, and then we're going to be waiting. Same issue, supply and logistics issues. But these 100, a good portion of them are going to be ending up in the Owens Valley where a lot of work is done, but not all the work, right? And so that's one of the things that the infrastructure group is looking at as they did a tour of the Owens Valley. They looked at power availability. They looked at what they need to do. And, you know, this is good practice for us for when our major fleets, our customers start coming to us and asking for infrastructure to hook these up. Some of the other ones that we've tried out, the all-electric flatbed from Roush Tech, Roush Engineering, they're a pretty large company. They partnered up with Ford. They're looking at doing some things. Velocity Truck Center, one of the local dealers, this all-electric cargo truck. And then down on the bottom was a Class 8 all-electric. We leased this vehicle for a year. Had a lot of issues, never really quite worked out well, but you have to go through these trials. And the last one, this is relatively recent. This is a Volvo Class 8 tractor. This tractor is actually got, I think, 200-mile range, Keith. It's commercially rolling out on the roads. There's a number of these out there, and we intend to buy at least one of these just to try it out. So we had a little bit of issue with the charger, nothing on our part, but you know, with this technology, we've got to work with the, you know, the original equipment manufacturers. There are challenges. We understand that. We are the right utility to be able to do this. You know, we're pretty diverse, and so we can phase these into our fleet. And we've been doing it for 30 years with sedans. Now we're going to be looking at the larger vehicles. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hall.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. As Tom said, my name is Keith Hall. I am a Fleet Services Manager for Fleet Engineering. Today, I want to give you an overview of the purchases that we have upcoming and our strategy. So right now, today, we have about 3,500 units that are due for replacement. That's a backlog that was created in part because we had a purchasing freeze due to budget constraints a number of years ago. In addition to that, we also had a hiring freeze for our group. We've subsequently staffed up, so we're able to improve our acquisitions, and that's what I'm doing over the next 3 years. One thing I want to point out to you on this slide is that you'll see in the bar graphs that the lion's share of what we need to buy is essentially work trucks, service trucks, pickup trucks, and heavy-duty vocational trucks. Right now, we have 370 units that are actually under contract. We're just waiting for those units to arrive. And we have another 260 units that we've identified that we will place orders for this calendar year. I want to give you an idea of what that looks like in terms of dollar amount. Those 3,500 units represent about $346 million. The bar on the far left is for service trucks. And that's an $84 million spend. That's 779 pieces of equipment. The pickup trucks, even though it's not a lot of money compared to the service trucks, that's 738 units that we need to procure. And we're going to have quite a few of those coming in the next 2 years. I want to share with you our purchasing strategy for clearing out that backlog. In the past, we've always prioritized replacing vehicles that had to be replaced as a result of a regulatory mandate. That will continue to be a priority as we move forward. One of the things that we've done that I'm trying to move into a new space on is we built custom specs for virtually everything we went out to bid for. To build specifications and designs takes about a year. And then once you've got the spec done, it goes out to bid, it's awarded, it's got to be built, and then finally we receive it. That can take at least 2 years, sometimes quite a bit longer. We also did specs kind of one bid at a time. So we'd be working on this particular model truck, another model truck, and again, separate specs that all go out to bid. we're moving away from that and moving to something more of a catalog. I'll talk about that in just a moment. One challenge with buying things a group at a time, like 100 trucks at one time, is that they all arrive at the same time, but they all get old at the same time. So we're smoothing that out. We're trying to establish a process so that we're routinely turning over the fleet. And just want to give you a little bit of historical perspective. In 2018-19, we spent $15 million on the fleet that fiscal year. 2021, we spent $35 million. So as we're implementing new processes, we're able to get more equipment here. I actually have $60 million worth of equipment on contract right now that we're just waiting for the manufacturers to actually build it and deliver it. What we're doing differently as we move forward, we're certainly going to keep regulatory compliance at the forefront, make sure that we stay in compliance. We are expediting and encouraging divisions within the department to accept off-the-shelf purchases. What that means is if, and oftentimes they do, the manufacturers have a vehicle that's built that will work for us, and we can just choose standard options, we can get those units here a lot faster than creating a spec from scratch. We're also implementing price and time contracts. I'll talk about that, but again, that's a catalog where we have a contract for 3 to 5 years, and we can go right to that contract. Cooperative contracts. We have a cooperative contract with Caterpillar, and what that is a contract that we piggybacked another government agency. So they're still competitively bid contracts, and we piggybacked it in order to reduce some of that turn time. We have a contract with Rush that this board approved last year, and we're hoping to establish a couple of contracts with the National Auto Fleet Group. 274, I wanted to put this slide in here because contract or proposed contract number 274 and 279 are going to be coming to this board in June and July. These are contracts. 274 is for light duty equipment, sedans through light duty service trucks. And then 279 is for medium duty, heavy duty equipment. The thing that's nice about these contracts is there is no minimum spend commitment. We make decisions about whether we'd like to use these contracts when it is in the best interest of the department and the ratepayers. They create multiple supply lines for us. So if one manufacturer can't deliver something, we can always look at other supply lines and get the equipment here reasonably quickly. Want to emphasize that we prioritize local businesses. The 3 contracts that are mentioned here on this slide, we did award a contract for Caterpillar equipment last year as well. These are all local businesses, and we certainly place a priority on that. And last but not least, both 274 and 279, they are catalogs that have electric vehicles in the contracts. So as we're trying to transition this fleet, these would be great tools to help us do that. I want to talk a little bit about emerging technology and just point out that, as we all know, we Water and Power, we are a provider of essential public services, and we have to have a reliable fleet. Right now, we enjoy a current fleet availability of 93%. As we introduce these vehicles into the fleet, we want to ensure that they will work for our crews in the field. We are blending these units into the fleet. We've been piloting units for a number of years, and as we are purchasing these units, we want to gather data and make sure that we're making good purchasing decisions going forward. The zero-emission light-duty market is actually fairly well developed. We've got a number of sedans in our fleet. The medium-duty and heavy-duty market is still emerging. We expect to increase purchases in that area over the coming years. Really quickly, I want to give you a high-level overview of what we've done and where we're going over the next 3 to 4 years. As of today, this fiscal year, we have received 201 vehicles. These are mostly passenger vans and cargo vans, non-powered trailers, and some off-highway equipment. Most of this equipment, or actually I don't think any of it, lent itself to electric vehicle purchases. But as we're moving forward into next fiscal year, you'll see that we have a number of electric vehicles. In 22-23, we're going to be ordering a total of 655 vehicles. And these are vehicles that we've identified. These are units that are in the fleet or additional units. Replacing them with Lightnings, Teslas, Mach-E's, medium-duty trucks, heavy-duty trucks.
real trailer today?
Real trailer, thanks. Today, you all just approved or awarded 7951. That's got 25 powered cable real trailers on it. Of those 25 units, 10 of them are all electric. This is the first for the department. We're looking at not only purchasing equipment that's on road, but also off-road construction equipment. Fiscal year 23-24, we're ordering 850 vehicles, and 24-25, 730 vehicles. By the time we get to the end of 24-25, we will have cleared out at least 75% of that backlog that I talked about earlier. Really quickly, just kind of what's coming each year. Right now in 2022, you'll see that we have 100 EV sedans that we need to determine the model, but we're gonna try to get an award done for that this calendar year. 18 walk-in work vans that will be all electric. We're ordering 9 different models so that we can, again, get a pulse on what's gonna be reliable, what's gonna work well for us. And as we learn from those, then our future purchases will be driven by that. Mach-E's, Teslas, the 2 Terex all-electric bucket trucks that Mr. Patzloff spoke of, and the Class 8 trailer. In 23, 100% of the sedans we buy will be replaced with EV vehicles. 100 of 400 pickup trucks that we purchase will be EVs. 2024, 50% of the vehicle purchases that we make in the medium-duty and heavy-duty classes will be zero emission whenever that's operationally feasible. And by the time we get to 25, 90% of our fleet and 30%, or excuse me, 90% of our automobile fleet and 30% of our pickup trucks will be plug-in electric. 2027, again, 100% of our purchases for medium-duty, heavy-duty trucks will be zero emission, and that may be fuel cell. My team is looking at fuel cell technology and the infrastructure to deploy fuel cell vehicles.
So I was going to ask you about that. I assume then that you're working very closely with our with our internal folks to make sure that we have the plug-in stations and the infrastructure to support all of this.
Yes, I meet with them at least once a month, and as we're preparing purchases, I let them know what we want to buy, what we're going to buy, and where it's going to be deployed, and they are evaluating what it's going to take for them to put in the infrastructure to support it.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I wanted to see your presentations together, just so that I could put side by side what the demands are for the department, not just to serve the public, but to serve our own internal needs.
Right.
And making sure that, I mean, I assume that we're going to certainly serve our own internal needs, but just to get a sense of how much work is being done in order to bring all of this into fruition. But this is quite impressive.
Thank you.
By the way, welcome to the boardroom. I don't think I've seen you here before.
I've been here as a guest, but I haven't had to present.
That's what I thought.
And actually, that concludes my part of the presentation. Tom's got a couple of things to wrap up.
Okay, just, Commissioner, when we had met, you said, talked about some of your challenges. And so, obviously, the first one is the expanding the existing EV charger infrastructure group. We have been working with that group. They are aware this is coming. They have the numbers. We've provided them what what we're going to be replacing, and they're actively working on it. As I mentioned earlier, we have 4,500 vehicles affected. It's going to take a little while to replace them, but it's going to be here quickly. On some vehicles, others will definitely take longer, but the Owens Valley, that was not on the radar any recently. And you know what? These F-150s, really good place to try them out. So we're going to get that up and running. Some of the other issues, supply chain issues. We're looking and continue to look at better, faster ways to buy equipment. Keith has implemented a number of, very creative ways, and we're always looking for ways to do it quicker. It is a challenge, and COVID certainly hasn't helped that with the supply issues and the microchips.
How's that impacting? I saw that we have quite a lot under contract, so I assume that those prices are holding. But as we are looking forward, what are we anticipating as it relates to cost?
Prices are increasing. We're seeing right now an average of about 7% over what we were paying pre-pandemic. We actually have had a couple of vendors come back to us and tell us that though we've awarded contracts, we just can't deliver those vehicles at the price that we bid, and we've had to go back and make price adjustments.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Some of the other stuff, we're growing the fleet. Growing the fleet means you need more space, you need more people. So definitely something we're working with real estate. We are in the process of attempting to purchase another facility and qualified technicians. For the first time in my career, we're getting people off the open list declining our jobs. I've never seen that before. Water and power has always been the place you want to come. So when I talk about the student worker program, we're going to need to start looking at developing and recruiting at the high school and at the junior college level. And I've been talking to the educators in the field, and I had a meeting the other day with ASC, which is ASC Certification Group. I said, we need people with these technologies, these backgrounds. So one of the things that we expect our technicians to do is work on everything. So if you're a mechanic here at Water and Power, you fix all brands, all sizes, all shapes. That's probably going to need to change. We're going to need to specialize, and just like the dealerships do. And it's going to be, we're just going to have to adapt. It's coming. One of the other areas on the NCCER program, we are still working with real estate. We're looking for a location to do the training. We need a place with a lot of dirt where we can make noise and dust and vibrate the ground. Nobody wants that around them in Los Angeles. So we may have to look, the Owens Valley, we may have to look, but we are actively looking for a place where we can do that work, because that, and without getting a bunch of complaints. As Keith mentioned earlier, we have a 93% reliability or availability rate. Our goal is 95. We need to maintain that. And so as we implement these new vehicles into our fleet, we've had issues with the beta testing. The reliability has not been there, and so we cannot afford to not have vehicles roll. We're a provider of essential public service, so that's some of the things we're trying to convey to CARB in this new rulemaking is utilities need some latitude. We need to be able to respond, so definitely a challenge for us. And then the last thing we've got competing agencies that we have to comply with. We've got the California Air Resource Board. We've got the South Coast Quality Air Management District. We've got the Bureau of Automotive Repair, our own city of Los Angeles, and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the Federal DOT, Cal OSHA. These are agencies that fleet has to deal with on a regular basis in buying vehicles, making sure that they comply with all the standards. And so definitely a challenge. But our goal is to meet and exceed the fleet needs of DWP internal customers now and in the future. And we're going to continue to work with the OEMs to develop new technologies and work through the problems. And that's all we have, unless there's any questions.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Lair.
Yes, I may have, it's more of a question or comment.
Okay.
Having recently met the LAUSD superintendent at a presentation, I would urge you to be talking to him, not only in terms of...
Is that Mr. Butner, or is that somebody new?
Oh, it's definitely somebody new. Okay. And he's in a, he gets, I think he realizes that the district owns a tremendous amount of land. So in terms of your fleets, you never know what you could work out, some trade. They also want to be relevant with regard to, obviously, conservation. Usually it's mostly water conservation, but they're very interested in anything and everything they can do. And I think you would find it very, and the next part of the question is, when the vehicles, there's a lot of new technology coming up fast. So how do we make sure that, let's say, that the fleet stays in the family somehow, so it's not, reselling and losing a tremendous amount of value on these, because not everybody needs to have the fleet be as sophisticated as you do. And I'm not saying the district LADWP could use necessarily any of some of the harder, certain type of equipment, but there's certainly certain vehicles and vans and trucks that they could use. Just getting that out there.
I guess, are you looking at giving them vehicles after we're done with them, or?
Well, giving them, I don't, but
I think she's
just trying to.
about what, I think she's thinking about sort of the life cycle of our vehicles and assuming that if we're bringing in new vehicles, that they're replacing vehicles.
Yes.
So, are we replacing, how long are we keeping our vehicles? Is there an aftermarket for those vehicles? I think that's sort of where she's headed.
Well, the very same challenges that we have as a government fleet, LAUST is also a government fleet, so they're going to be stuck. They have the same purchasing requirement we do. So getting used vehicles, secondary vehicles from the market isn't really going to meet their needs. They're an agency that I can imagine is probably going to struggle, but they're looking for much more standard vehicles, buses, sedans, things that may be more readily available. We have in the past worked with other city agencies and worked out arrangements for our older vehicles to go there. But I'm going to be honest, most of the time when our vehicles are done, their service life is over, they need to go to salvage. They're not maybe as energy efficient as the new ones. The reliability maybe isn't there. We're pretty careful when it's time to go, it's time to go. So I don't necessarily want to give somebody something that should have been replaced.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Berard-Hopkins?
I have a question about the slide previous to this. Thank you. One. About
What, have you seen it yet?
your challenges and where you're going to store the trucks. The fleet is growing. So when you say that you're meeting with realtors, if you could fill us in a little bit on that. What has been your experience in dealing with the availability, the capacity for storing the fleets that will be, that's going to be growing?
Well, when I said we're meeting with our internal real estate group, they do the search for us. We give them our list of needs, and then they go out and seek property that will meet our needs. In the past couple of years, Fleet has acquired 2 pieces of property. One is over on Avenue 21. It's a piece of property that we will, some of the fleet operations folks that I talked about, the equipment personnel, we're actually going to be putting them down there. We're also going to set up some offices, and that will allow more parking area as we acquire vehicles. And we've got another property that I don't want to discuss because it's in negotiations right now with real estate. And we're going to continue to look. They have our needs. They know what we're looking for. This is our own folks. And specifically what they're seeing out there, that's a question that they would have to answer.
Yeah, the challenge that we have is we not only want to add field personnel, but with every personnel becomes a piece of equipment and materials as well. And so it's a matter of the fact that the people are 1/3 of the issue, but the equipment that they need and the materials that they need, so the warehousing and all those go hand in hand. So as we find that our existing yards seem to be continually constrained by people wanting to use our properties for other purposes, we're trying to grow the number of yards we have in order to meet the needs that we have for the goals of the city. Yeah, and that includes the fleet equipment piece.
And will the people who drive the new fleets, will they have the choice of it being hybrid or all electric? Or is it everything all electric?
The people that drive it really don't have a choice. We're making decisions and choice based on what's best for the fleet and what's best for the department and us complying. And that's why I looked at Brian. I said, because people want what they want. And this new technology is going to bring some challenges to the old style. Very limited cargo capacity. This 55-foot bucket truck has 3,000 pounds of cargo capacity. That's nothing. You put 2 big linemen in there and their gear, and you're there. We're going to have to...
The linemen are big, or what they're carrying?
Their equipment.
One of the points that Tom's making on that,
yeah. You put 2 big fleet managers in there.
Thank you. And that's
I'm
one
always
of the
good for
aspects,
something, huh? Yeah.
We look at the technology and where it's going, and where the smaller vehicles and technology is obviously there, and we can get a lot of use out of that. That bucket truck specifically, in order to replace one of our existing trucks, we're going to have that bucket truck and another cargo truck to go with it. So we're replacing one with 2, right, to do the same capacity as that. And to answer Jill's question, the job will be specific to the vehicle that needs to be used. So where that truck will be very effective in some situations where you don't need the cargo, it's fantastic, they'll use it for that job. But for another job where they need to carry out transformers, dirt, sand, everything else that goes along with a regular job, they won't be able to use that truck, or they'll have to use 2 trucks. So when we look at the technology and where it's at, we're not quite there yet. But we don't want to get behind, right? We want to be on the forefront of what's coming out, so we can do these trials on these vehicles.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Any question or comment from anyone else at the dais? Then I'd like to say first, thank you for the presentation, both of you. It was quite excellent. I really appreciate it. I enjoy always the challenge slide, but I also like to see that followed with something that suggests to me how we are meeting these challenges, and some other, or I typically will follow up by saying, okay, well, you said we have this problem, this problem, this problem. Tell me what our strategy is for addressing that problem and what the timeline is, so that I can determine or have some way of being able to check in to determine if we are on track to achieve our objectives in spite of our challenges. So I will likely come back to fleet at some point for a little drill down on some of these issues. But this is, just period. This has been really illuminating, and does serve to elevate to the board the very large and significant operations that takes place every day to keep the department moving forward, often without much fanfare or notice. And I want to therefore take this opportunity to acknowledge that work, to acknowledge the men and women in fleet services. In particular, and we very often, the people that are in this room and the department, the groups that present quite a lot, we have many opportunities to say thank you to. The people that aren't in this room, or that we don't get presentations from or haven't had presentations from, we've not had the opportunity to specifically acknowledge the work that they do and the work that they did through the pandemic. I know we had a lot of employees, as it was brought to my attention many times, a lot of employees who, because of the work that they were called upon to do, were not able to stay at home during the pandemic and to shelter in the most safe environment possible. And I would imagine that that would include quite a bit of folks who work in fleet services. So I want to acknowledge that as well. And to tell you how very much I look forward to visiting some of these locations, not just to drive and to hang out with the helicopters, but actually to say hello to our employees. This is, again, quite impressive. It's one of those rare occasions where we've got a department manager who is seeking to be ahead of the curve as you were talking about testing and data and, purchasing vehicles and going through all of these things, I know that the utility industry, as Dr. Pickle has pointed out to me many times, kind of isn't usually racing to be first out of the gate, but often wants to take advantage of other people's experimentation. So I appreciate the real balancing act and real challenge associated with being very proactive. I also did catch the glance over to Brian Wilbur.
He knows exactly what I mean.
About taking things off the shelf and doing less customization.
Yes.
But I also know that that we've got to balance, the time associated with customizing versus getting things at scale accomplished. And so, again, thank you for this. And I'll be particularly interested in the continued interplay between our EV group, providing the EV infrastructure group over and against the needs of the fleet group and making sure that that stays on track. And finally, Marty, I'll be very interested in understanding how we're managing our real estate needs long-term. We've got a lot to address as the department continues to transform and grow. And I've seen some of these spaces, and we are in desperate need of real estate.
Yes.
And we've got to be able to defend every inch of the turf that we currently have. Finally, one thing that sort of jumped out is your interaction with the youth training program. We've got a lot of scaling to do with respect to employment, and we've talked in this room a lot about the need to catch people early as they are considering employment opportunities. And I would not have imagined the level of employment available to this department in fleet services. It just wouldn't have come to mind, and it's not something that when I'm talking to people I ever mention. So I will be interested in seeing how we better centralize and support and elevate all of the employment opportunities and really move into the spaces that we need to move into, because if we can get someone interested at any level, then there's that, in the high school, junior college space, there is that potential for them to say, well, that was interesting, but I really like this or I really like that. So I just want to, figure out how we get far more organized as opposed to in silos working on these things. But thank you very much. I appreciate your both being here.
All right, well, I appreciate the support this board in particular has given us. We've sent a lot of things through, and including the budget increase this year in a year. Thank you, Marty, that not a lot of people got an increase, and we intend to spend that money and continue to transition. So thank you.
Can I just add to the last point that Cynthia made around the entree point into LADWP, and it was very disappointing to hear that you've been turned down on positions when they got through the queue, and so if there's any way we can support that effort better, let us know.
We can always use more.
Thank you.
I gave you more.
I know.
I gave you
For
more.
the record, I didn't turn down.
I don't believe I put that in the presentation.
I was going to say no lobbying.
I think you said in past years. Yes.
So we will move to our next item on the agenda, which is the filed items. Are there any questions or comments related to items J, 1, 2, or 3? Going once, twice, and we will move to item K. Just for clarification, Council, we have one set of minutes where there are only 2 commissioners that remain on the board that were present for that meeting. Are we able to approve those minutes?
No, they will stay in limbo, Commissioner.
All right.
Forever? I mean,
Forever.
Okay, I just realized the problem will never go away, I guess.
Well, we'll confer as to how we keep some draft record of that meeting. Then for the meeting on April 26th, commissioners present were Commissioners LEHRER, BARAD, Hopkins, and NEEMAN, BRADY. Is either of those commissioners prepared to make a motion to approve that, those
So moved.
meeting minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
President McCLAIN-HILL,
No, I was not present, I can't vote.
Commissioner BRAD Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN, BRADY.
Aye.
3 ayes, motion passes.
Terrific. We can move to item number L5.
6, I think. Those are 6, didn't we?
Oh, I'm sorry, L6.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Item L6 is a request by my division to extend the firm formerly known as Brown George contract for an additional 2 years and an additional amount of $6 million to deal with the dozen or so pending litigation matters that we have related to the class action billing case, the Arden and Parity bankruptcies, and the ancillary cases related thereto that are set forth in the board letter.
Yes, thank you. I actually had a comment with respect to that item. I understand that their current contracts expire imminently, is that correct?
In July of this year, late July of this year.
And it is also I certainly understand that we will need to retain their services beyond July of this year. I am concerned, though, or I'm a little, I'm not prepared to vote for a $6 million increase in their budgeted amount at this time. We just approved contracts for additional counsel that would be independent, one of whom which may have implications for our continued utilization of Brown George with respect to some of these items. And as a result, it seems to me that a $6 million increase is much more than is warranted at this moment. So I would like to propose that we approve the contract, but approve it for amount of $3 million instead.
Great, Commissioner. We can amend the contract and change the board resolution to reflect that $3 million. So what it would require at this time is a motion to amend the resolution and change the amount from $6 million to $3 million.
So move.
Wait, I'm sorry, does it no longer then need city council approval? Or
It will
is
still
the
require
timing?
council approval
It's the
because
timing.
of the duration of the contract.
Okay.
A second. Would you please call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner BRAD Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN, BRADY.
Aye.
So the next item then would be a vote on the item as amended.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve item L6 as amended.
Seconded.
Would you call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner BRAD Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN, BRADY.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. We now have item 10. Just the next item that is called.
see. Good morning, Commissioners. Hello, my name is Kadi Uzama. I'm the manager for the Innovation and Data Analytics section. And today I'm here to present the request for an amendment to, sorry about that.
I think they're pulling it up for you. There you go.
Okay. So I'll start from the beginning. So good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kadi Uzama, manager of the Innovation and Data Analytics section. And I'm here to present a request for an amendment to the Distribution Automation, Communication Network Solution, and Services. So just to give a little background on the contract, in September of 2019, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power awarded this agreement to Itron. And the agreement provides equipment, software, and implementation services for a distribution automation communication network. This network supports smart devices such as advanced meters, field devices for distribution automation, as well as applications that are needed for modernization of the distribution grid. In terms of where we are at this moment, we have started implementing the communication network across the department's service territory. That means all the pole top equipment, such as access points, relays that act as gateways for communication, as well as repeaters. We've started implementation, and we expect to be completed by the end of the year. We've also had a pilot for the initial deployment of smart meters, just as a test to ensure that this communication network that we're rolling out functions properly. So that's been completed. And we've also started implementing line monitors for our worst performing circuits. We worked with some of the organizations that are involved with maintenance on these circuits, such as the dispatchers, as well as senior load dispatchers and some of the engineers involved with distribution, just to get an understanding of what qualifies as worst performing circuits. And we plan to expand on that as the contract continues. Another component that's in place is all the back office equipment. This comprises of all the software and hardware needed for data collection, as well as leveraging that data for enhancing department business processes, as well as preparing for the future of distributed energy resources. Another major component that's in place is system integrations. We're making major progress there. What this entails is taking all the mission critical applications that of the department's power system and ensuring that these devices can talk to each other, and at the same time being able to leverage that data for automating different aspects of the distribution system. We work very closely with the ITS organization to make sure that we're able to integrate properly with the IT systems as well, and that's also in our roadmap in terms of getting to a point where we can successfully integrate with the billing systems, as well as the meter data manager and other applications that become important for the program.
So the systems integration is currently underway?
The existing integrations is currently underway. Also on track for hopefully to be completed by the end of the year. And as we started, and the reason for this amendment that I'll get to on the next slide is, as we move forward and based on the current assumptions made in comparison to the lessons learned as we've started, we've seen the need for improving on certain areas and filling in certain gaps. And so the proposed amendment would only add extra funds to the contract, while all other terms and conditions of the agreement shall remain unchanged. And this brings me to the purpose for the agreement. So the amendment to this agreement provides additional equipment for distribution automation as well as the communication network. This includes devices such as reclosers, transformer monitors for monitoring our transformers on the distribution system, the line monitors, which I mentioned before, for purchasing extra equipment as needed,
And then there's communication equipment, which involves devices such as master bridges and remote bridges, and communication access points and relays, as I mentioned before. This is important for improving the reliability and efficiency, as well as the resiliency of the electric distribution system. It will provide our operators better visibility into the distribution system in order to improve restoration or act quickly in terms of outages, and also very instrumental in dealing with wildfires as they're able to identify outages in a more efficient manner. Another component to this amendment are the licenses for scaling up to the endpoints that would be supported by the system. So currently in our pilot, we had 5,000 smart meters that we distributed across the service territory, and that's at all the districts just to test to make sure that the mesh network functions properly. But there is a very important change management piece that needs to be in place, and we are working with our labor partners to ensure that all the classifications that are impacted and all the challenges that come up with that are addressed in a proper manner before we move forward with expanding on smart meters. So the licensing that we currently have is for the pilot that we deployed, and there is funding in this proposed amendment to deal with scaling up when that opportunity arises. And then lastly, we have other services and support related to retrofitting the substations for extending our communication networks out to the substations to better utilize departments' infrastructure, such as our fiber optics networks. We have more integrations in place, more specifically to deal with the billing and the meter data management as well as work management. So those are some of the items that were identified in the course of rolling out the project that would be beneficial. There's also an associated project management piece that deals with the project anytime new systems or new endpoints are introduced into the distribution automation communication system, as well as a managed services piece that is in place as a stopgap while we transition a lot of the operations and maintenance to in-house resources. So that involves training, transfer of knowledge, as well as vendor support. And the sooner we can transition that in-house, the better for the department as a whole.
So I understand why Dr. Pickle is enthusiastically supporting this particular item.
One of the questions is, when you say department head end, are you including meter data management as part of that head end activity?
So when I mentioned the head end, it specifically refers to just the vendor's device, which is Itron's head end system, and that's for meter consumption data collection. As far as the meter data manager, it's one of the pieces that we're working closely with our ITS organization in order to integrate that with our head end piece. So conversations have started.
So that will be a separate piece on top of this, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. I know that this is a very complex but important project that is rolling out within the department with lots and lots of moving pieces. The change management piece of it is a pretty significant and knowledge transfer piece, I understand, are pretty significant elements. So I am happy to hear that things are going well. I'm curious very much about all of the complexity associated with this effort. I have a quick question. Does this, just a selfish quick question, we have a particular area of the city, in fact, a particular neighborhood, Brian, that I know that Marty is very much familiar with, that I'm certain he's spoken with you about, that it's experienced really unfortunate blackouts repeatedly, that group of homeowners has been very patient with the department. Is this work likely to help bring some relief to that problem, or is that a different kind of work that needs to take place.
No, and this is actually part of what Connie was talking about as far as monitoring our worst performing circuits. So that particular circuit is definitely in that category as one of our worst performing circuits. And that's one of the reasons for expanding these endpoints to not just include, the 5,000 original, but to expand that into more areas so we can get a better look at everything in this initial concept phase.
Okay, and this is, as I understand it, this work is really a critical precursor to the more fulsome rollout of smart meters, and gives us a great deal of visibility into our system and will aid us very significantly in terms of both managing outages and understanding how to best deploy resources in the event of problems. So while not, what is classically called smart meters, this sort of smart grid will go a long way in addressing a number of the challenges that departments had with being able to be nimble when responding to things across the city. Is that right?
That is correct. And it's not just the smart meter portion of it that gives us that view into what's going on, but also the line monitors and the transformers and the all the master bridges and everything, how it brings that all together so we get a better view of our entire system.
Yeah, it really improves the granularity that they have right now. Right now, they see an outage in a big area. This will get them down to a narrow area. It'll really help focus crews. It'll reduce liability for wildfires, especially with lines down, status of reclosers, things like that. And the other thing that's really critical is data management, and that's a big piece of this is not being inundated with data, knowing, stepping into this and having a plan. And as we go to smart meters, not being inundated with meter data and knowing that smart meters can feed directly into the billing system, as well as just how we're going to handle that. Because that's one of the struggles. I was just in a meeting with a lot of other major public utilities, and one of the things I struggle with is almost too much data, not knowing how to deal with it, or not being set up ahead of time how to deal with that. So part of the real focus in this is be able to manage that data and transition so that we know how to manage that data.
Yeah, I'll be very interested at some point in getting a specific update or presentation on the data management aspect of this work. Dr. Pickle.
The cost benefit of distribution automation is pretty easy. It's clear. 100% rollout to smart meters, not so clear. You need to be selective as to how you roll out there. And you need to build a much larger data management system to deal with all that meter data. So we're doing this in the right order.
Excellent. I think that answers all of my questions in connection with this particular contract. I guess my only other just very dumb question, since you're going to tell me yes, is that we are not concerned about becoming overly reliant on a particular entity's technology in connection with this work. Is that right?
So that's correct. The vendor that was the department awarded the contract to, Itron, their solution is agnostic to whatever type of meters that we plan on installing. And we're working closely with the ITS organization to ensure that any IT application or system that we roll out provides us that ability to bring all the operations and maintenance in-house. So that's something that we are constantly keeping at the forefront of our decisions.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments relative to this particular item? No. All right. Then I would like to move that we approve item 10. Is there a second? Oh, 10.
Second.
Would you please call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion passes.
And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners.
Lots of new presenters today. We will move to item 12. Commissioner NEEMAN Brady, you called this item special. Would you like a presentation?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm hoping that the presentation just has, I was going to say, that didn't look like that had maps. Perfect, yes. maps. Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Leonard, Director of Water Operations, and I will be presenting on the request for approval of the sale of City of Los Angeles property to the City of Bishop. This is for the Cebu Street to School Path project.
So yeah, just the question was wanting to see the visualization and also how our land abuts things. So that's helpful to see. So it abuts the entire elementary school, or a length of the elementary school. So it's just giving a portion of that for.
Yes, it's adjacent to the school property. It's a multimodal corridor, so for pedestrian and bike path. It also not only allows access for the school children from the Bishop Paiute Shoshone Reservation to get to school and from home, but it also adds a safe access into a residential street that ultimately allows folks to transit into Bishop proper.
This is great. Just thank you very much. I appreciate you stepping forward, Andy. This is a great development.
And there's one other benefit too, from a school safety standpoint, which of course is more and more of a concern, unfortunately, these days. It allows the school to also isolate entry into the school to the front, so through a more secure area. So.
That's great. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? And thank you, Commissioner, for having the visual brought up. That is very helpful. Is there a motion to approve L12?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Would you call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner BRAD Hopkins?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion passes.
Terrific. We'll move on to item L14. It's a report from the Personnel Relations Committee on grievance number 3111-21. And we have a speaker.
Good morning, commissioners and everyone. I want to thank you
Just
for
so
the...
you know, you have 5 minutes.
Yes. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak at the board meeting to address my grievance. Unfortunately, I found it very hard to convince anyone about the highly technical or workplace culture-related items I included in my grievance. I believe the reason is that the management of Water Quality Division keep providing inaccurate and untrue information to the hearing officers without any supporting evidence, just word of mouth in the style of because I said so. And while I included documents and evidence clearly disputing that information, seems like my voice is not strong enough, and maybe it's my English that is not strong enough. Therefore, I want to take this opportunity to tell you about the real reason I'm here in this situation. Let me start by positive side of the story. I work as a utility microbiologist at Water Quality Lab. I love my job, and my job is very meaningful to me, the way science is meaningful to me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be part of LADWP. I found so many role models within the department who are constantly a source of inspiration to me and my coworkers. And I personally took any opportunity to thank them and express my appreciation. Just like many other employees, I brought years of experience and education to the department. And I also learned a lot since the time I'm with the department. Yet, unfortunately, little amount of that learning was inside the water quality lab. Our experience at lab could have been way better if it was not for the systematic issues, workplace politics, and insider-outsider dynamics in the lab. Let me back up a little bit to the first day I started in the lab. When I did not, within the first hours, when I still didn't say anything more than, hello, nice meeting you, my supervisor told me with a straight face, quote, if you want to get a promotion, you need to kill me. Just like me, if I want to get a promotion, I need to kill the manager, end of quote. Or a few minutes later, he said, the previous microbiologist who had your position had a graduate degree and a lot of research experience, just like you. And he was from your country, but we had to terminate him. It was perfectly documented with several witnesses. And after years, I'm still wondering why is that, why that should be mentioned to me in my first hour. Within the first 2 weeks, my immediate coworkers told me tens and tens of stories about what they've been through as a result of workplace politics, favoritism in our group. Anyways, I was always positive that we can communicate about our concerns, get help, and bring about positive change. Many of us took advantage of open door policy and talked to all 4 directors of water quality division. But unfortunately, to the 4 directors of water quality division within the past 6 years. But it didn't bring anything to us other than retaliation.
Ms. Rashidin, please wrap up your remarks.
Sure. And that's exactly, I've been in trouble to this point that I had to file 5 grievances within 10 months. I truly hope that the upper management of the department and the board see it appropriate to help address the issues at water quality lab, including workplace politics, waste pool, and scientifically meaningless practices, low morale, safety and building issues, not merit-based broken selection process in that opportunities are not equally available to all employees, but only to the people who are in the circle of power or their friends. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. The board has before it Personnel Relations Committee's report and recommendation with respect to this grievance. I would just like to point out that the Personnel Relations Committee convenes to arbitrate matters that are grievable under the respective MOUs of the department, not matters related to EEO complaints or other kinds of actions that might be brought against the department. So without reference to either grievances that were outside of the scope of what were heard or matters that would have been more appropriate to EEO complaints. The recommendation of the Personnel Board or Personnel Committee is before you and resulted in a finding that did not support this grievance position. Is there?
May I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So your statement is that some of the subject matter covered in the grievance is outside the scope of the committee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to move passage of the approval of the Personnel Committee recommendation. Is there a second?
So moved.
Would you please call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And we also have a speaker for item L15, Mr. Tang, relative to grievance M-101-21. Mr. Tang.
Good morning, everyone. I want to take a second to thank you, President McCLAIN-HILL, and the entire Board of Commissioners. You consistently demonstrate in every meeting I've seen that you understand the issues. You ask the right questions and follow up on lingering items. You said that you would bring this item back, and you did exactly that. Thank you. You're absolutely right that we need to build an environment of transparency where employees feel heard. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen around here. Before I go on, I want to share a few quotes. We as a department have work to do within our culture, our policies, and our practices, both internally and externally. Now is the time for us to elevate our ideals and create pillars of transparency, thoughtfulness, empathy, and a recommitment to accountability towards a better DWP, where all employees feel welcomed, valued, and included at every level of the organization. I recognize that we too need to take meaningful steps to ensure that all of our employees, as well as our customers, have the same opportunities and availability of services as they deserve. These are a few statements the General Manager issued to employees over the past couple of years, highlighting his commitment to fairness and equity in the workplace. I wholeheartedly agree, and I commend him for his sincere sentiments. On the ethics front, because of the board's leadership and follow-through, the department finally brought on the long-promised Inspector General. We've made steps in the right direction on diversity, equity, and inclusion, such as events and campaigns that highlight our diversity, coupled with recruitment efforts for women, people of color, and other historically marginalized groups. While marketing campaigns are a part of the effort, they are not a substitute for real reforms. Ramping up of hiring of underrepresented groups only to see those new employees get mistreated once they get here does us no good. As I mentioned in the last meeting, we can have all the offices and procedures we want, but these initiatives can't be fully realized without consistent oversight and accountability. That would include holding accountable those managers who fall short of their leadership obligations of EEO, equity, and ethics, and to make a good effort to undo the harm caused to employees who are victimized by that failure of leadership. As I explained on the last board meeting, Power Executive Management mistreated me after I brought up potential issues of EEO, inequity, and disparate treatment. Not all of the commissioners were present in the last meeting, but I do have copies of my statement to share if needed. After the last meeting, I sent a follow-up email to Labor Relations, Management Employees Association, and the General Manager, which I'll paraphrase. In the context of the equity issues I brought up in the May 10 meeting, the way my case is resolved could also be an equity issue. For example, disparate treatment versus consistent and equal application of rules, policies, and standards. I put forth this opportunity for the management. Consistent with recent practice, a settlement which upgrades me to a Utility Administrator 3 with back pay, backdated to August 12, 2018. As discussed in the May 10 board meeting, if not for the retaliatory actions by Power Executive Management, which forced me into an effective demotion to water, the board would be voting today whether to permanently upgrade me to the UA3 DDR. Instead, the current proposal for the board's consideration would merely back pay me as a UA3 for the period of August 12, 2018 to January 3, 2022. This latter outcome is unjust because I will never be made whole, and is a compounding effect of Power's mistreatment of me even after acknowledging I was doing a great job. However, recent history indicates there is a fair and equitable path forward that could fully resolve these issues. Please be reminded of the recent Barbara Matlock case. As a result of that settlement, 3 other UAs received backdated permanent upgrades per the UA DDR, which requires overseeing organizations with over 1,000 employees. Catherine Hernandez was a UA3 for Power Transmission and Distribution, or PTD for short, with over 1,000 employees. She was upgraded to a UA4. Janice Lee was a UA3 for Power Construction and Maintenance with over 1,000 employees. She was upgraded to a UA4. Crystal Angelo was a UA3 for Power Engineering Division. Despite only around 500 employees, she was upgraded to a UA4. But how? Ms. Angelo was the UA3 for PTD before Power System transferred her to Engineering Division in July 2019. Instead of only receiving back pay for the period she managed PTD, the settlement provided Ms. Angelo with a backdated permanent upgrade to UA4. My case and hers are very similar and would thus warrant the same just outcome. As it is, no one responded to my email. I'm aware of at least 2 other cases in the grievance pipeline where the UAs involved would also get permanent upgrades if resolved in their favor, which would further put me at a disadvantage and further victimize me. Absent being heard by the management, I'm here today to ask if the board can intervene to help. May I humbly ask the board if it could exercise its authority by directing the management to agree to a settlement with me, which permanently upgrades me to a UA3, backdated to August 12, 2018, consistent with past practice. That outcome would be the only fair and equitable path forward that fully resolves the issues and provides some level of accountability. I leave you with one more quote from the GM: with honest reflection, open dialogue, and a willingness to confront the tough challenges, this department will work towards fairness and equitability for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. So this matter presents yet another recommendation from the Personnel Relations Committee with respect to a grievance filed by Mr. Tang. And in this case, the Personnel Relations Committee did find in favor of the grievance. Again, there are additional issues that have been raised that fall outside the purview of the particular grievance upon which we acted. And so are not addressed in the in the recommendation to the board. The grievance has highlighted, as does the report, that the committee's finding would have upgraded his pay and position to that of a 3 from the dating back to the initial filing of the grievance in August 2018. However, I understand that status has been changed based on his leaving that particular job and taking another position in the department. That is not currently at that level. So the approval or the upgrade would have been relinquished as of his taking a new position in the department. I recommend approval, or continue to recommend approval of the board item before you. Are there any questions or comments before we take a vote on that item?
Yes, just what is the new position in the water division? That was just not clear where.
It's a utility administrator 2 position in water executive loans and grants.
Okay.
Yes, he moved from a UA3 to a position that was UA2. And again, there may be additional issues here that require some redress. I don't have a view with respect to that, except that the process by which you would achieve that is not direct board intervention. So I would recommend that we move forward with what is before us, and to the extent that there are additional matters to be resolved, that those be resolved through the processes that are set forward to take them on. I'd like to move approval of item L15.
Second.
Would you please call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
4 ayes, motion passes.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your support.
We have I'm advised by council that the only items that require discussion in session, unless commissioners have questions about those board letters. Is there any need to go into closed session to discuss the board letters that have been provided by council? No. Then
In that case, Commissioner, I would ask that we move in block items M1, M2, M15, and M16 for approval of the settlements reflected in the board letter.
I make that motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
So it's been moved and seconded that we take up those items. Would you please call the roll?
President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
4 ayes, motions passed.
Thank you. That concludes our meeting for today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I I know it's tail end, I just have a couple comments I'd like to make. I'm getting a lot of calls. No, nothing? Can I just, a lot of calls about what to do about water conservation. And our communications are not very clear. I did get given a document that was produced by San Bernardino that is really a good example. I'm just saying a lot of calls, like daily 3-4 calls, 10 emails, just because I'm a landscape architect, but because I know you all. So I just want to make that point. It'd be good to get together and strategize on how to manage communication. And then the other is on the comment that was made, just quickly, the comment that was made earlier about the affordable housing. I think it'd be worthwhile to have Marty, you put Paul Habib on that issue, and there was in the open call. I would just urge you to perhaps get back to someone about how we're managing that, since some of the organizations that called in seem to be very interesting and are doing projects, and it's being handled, so.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would
Sure,
simply.
sorry.
No. The only thing I want to point out is that the items that you addressed would have been appropriate under the report by the general manager.
Okay, all right.
Just so it hits our
Yes,
agenda.
that's fine.
all.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. And again, I move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Good. Without objection, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time.
Easily be.